we discuss Africa. We see what ails Africa. And today, this afternoon, we want to see whether Sudan will permanently remain a sick child of Africa. Is it a permanent sickness? Can we resolve the issues of Southern Sudan? Is it something that has gone wrong for 200 years? There has always been a problem in Southern Sudan, in that great region, starting from all the way the Alimadi Wars and the rest of all what happened until today. Peace seems to be elusive. Why has UN taken slow action? Why hasn't UN set up a tribunal? We want to see a tribunal that will make sure that Southern Sudan people are accountable. Those who committed crimes against the human beings. 20,000 Sudanese perished. They are perished. They are not accountable. Nobody can account for them. And we cannot sit here, go on hammering peace agreements without mechanisms of accountability. If we set a tribunal for Sierra Leone, for Rwanda, for Camera Rouge, we need somebody to stand up for the poor masses, the masses that have died, the masses that continue to die, the masses that are being brutalized, murdered, maimed on a daily basis by marauding armies of both Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. There must be an accountability. You are not going to sit here and tell people there is no accountability in Southern Sudan. There must be a tribunal. Why do we run to harass countries of Kenya, put ICC on Kenya, put ICC on this country, put ICC on Central African Republic? Why have we delayed on putting a tribunal for Southern Sudan to find out who is killing, who has been killing, how they have been killing people? Let me speak for the people in Southern Sudan, the women, the children who have not gone to school, the children who have no medicine, the children who have nothing, who have been running since 2013, and the war cannot end because of two people. Let them face the tribunal. I'm not going to keep quiet as a Pan-African to see Southern Sudan being maimed, being tortured, being cut, dismembered. And we keep quiet and watch people got images of people, of malcontents singing to us in Uganda, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, in South Africa, telling us they have money. Let them face the international tribunal and tell the tribunal who gave them the guns, where they buying them, how they were killing people. Enough of is enough. Enough is enough for Africa. We have had enough. There is no need of that anymore. Enough is enough. And if people have died, they will not cry. We people who are left on planet Earth must cry for them. We must find justice for them. We must make sure that there are leaders who go on bragging on television stations all over the world, who are accountable. They must be behind bars.
You know, when one is asked to talk about leadership in Africa, one's mind wanders in many directions, because in the recent past, the continent of Africa has been the subject of scrutiny from many quarters. There are those who are Afro-pessimists and take the view that Africa will never realize our potential. There are those Afro-optimists who take the view that the jury is still out on the success or otherwise of the continent of Africa. I am an Afro-optimist. I take the view that this continent has had a glorious past, and that this continent has had her trials and tribulations, but her better days are in the future. There are those who, when talking about Africa, are in the habit of dealing with Africa as if it were one monolithic block. They do not recognize that the beauty of Africa is in her diversity. And indeed, when you care to undertake a geographical survey of Africa, you will be amazed at what the west of Africa offers, what the center of Africa offers, what the south of Africa offers, what the Horn of Africa offers, and what the north of Africa offers. That is the continent that we are talking about today. And we are talking about her because she continues in many ways to punch below her weight. And many are the commentators who take the view that the reason why she continues to punch below her weight is because the men and women who have had the privilege and honor to serve her in different political capacities or leadership capacities have not served her well. There may be merit in that assessment, but those who are quick to judge, those whose only claim to fame is that they are professional fault finders, must ask many questions before they judge and condemn Africa unfairly. This continent, and I remember, and if we are to judge this continent fairly, we must go back to the past and look to the past and ask about this continent. And there are many who have written about this continent. How many of you here will forget the great writings of Senegal's Ante-Cheikh Diop, who has documented in many ways the glorious past of the continent of Africa, the great kingdoms in Africa. When Europe was still in the caves, Africans were building monuments. If they were not building them in the Ashanti Empire, they were building them in Monomotapa here in Zimbabwe. And there is a sense in which all those have been consigned to the Museum of History. And those who look at Africa see Africa as a scar on the conscience of humanity, not remembering that they were themselves co-authors of Africa's misfortunes. We are the only continent and the only people in the world who have been commodified. How many of you will remember that agrarian Europe had to commodify Africa in order to realize our level of development? At one time in those early days, we will remember, even as we talk about leadership, that half of the population of this continent was taken away. If they were not taken away from Ghana, which they then christened Gold Coast, they were taken away from Angola. If they were not taken away from Angola, they were taken away from Mozambique. If they were not taken from Mozambique, they were taken from Senegal. If the Arabs were not taking us, the Europeans were taking us. If the Europeans in their different tribes were not conquering us, they were stealing from us. Those are the realities that we don't talk about when we talk about this continent. And you know, if one cares to judge the African continent, one must be historically conscious. The oldest African country after we regained our independence from greater chief. And the question that we must ask ourselves, why is it that this continent finds ourselves in that space? If it is not Europe summoning us, it is the United States of America summoning us. Everybody is in the business of summoning us. One may ask, what has this to do with leadership? You know, I listened to the Chinese president speaking in eloquent Mandarin, saying how the relationship between Africa and China is a mutually beneficial relationship. He spoke about Africa as if it was one country. He did not remind himself, in my mind, that there are 55 countries in Africa, or 54 if you ask Morocco. And I listened to the Chinese president specifically mentioning the Gambia and a few words on Sao Tome and Principe, that they were welcomed back to the world because they had renounced their relationship with Taiwan and they had now recognized the one China policy. Do I say this because there is anything wrong with China? No. I'm saying this because the Chinese are providing leadership for their people. They know exactly what they want for their people, and they are doing exactly what they want for their people for the benefit of their people. The question that I'm posing to us, do we know what we want for our people? Are we doing what we need for our people? And the answer is, I doubt. Why do I doubt? I doubt because at the end of the entire enterprise, the Chinese president said that he had given, or his government had given, 60 billion United States dollars to 54 African countries. Notionally, therefore, each country would be entitled to no more than 1.5 billion. Half of the presidents who are present in China, each one of them, half of them, can produce 1.5 billion. Sportsmen in Europe and America, including boxers, can earn $1 billion in a single bout. And we are here singing praises of China because they gave us 60 billion. Once again, it is a statement of their ability to recognize what leadership is all about. I'm submitting to us that when we interact with people like the Chinese, there is something to learn from them. We may condemn them at fora such as this, but there is wisdom in asking ourselves, how is it that this country, which about 30 years ago could not feed half our population, has in 30 years during our lifetime succeeded in pulling up nearly 800 million people out of poverty? How is it that every road that is now being built in Africa, whether the road is in Benin, or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Johannesburg, South Africa, or in Kigali, in Rwanda, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a Chinese firm whose name I cannot pronounce as the contractor for that firm? How is it? How is it that China, which about 30 years ago did not produce a mobile phone, today, out of every 10 mobile phones, we are using 6 which are from China? If it is not Techno, it is some other phone. If we are not inviting Jack Ma, we are inviting another Chinese, because we have seen that they have the ability to organize their affairs. Some of us, particularly those of us who are in the middle class, our pride is that our child is learning Mandarin as a second language, not isiZulu, Mandarin. I fear, Bishop, that in the next few years, when they bring their children for baptism, and you ask them, how do you name this child? They'll say, Deng Xiaoping Simfiwe. I'm still talking about leadership. We have seen what leadership can do. Leadership has catapulted China to another completely different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted South Korea to a different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted Vietnam, which was bombed to the ground in 1975, Vietnam now produces more coffee than all African countries combined. What have they done? The men and women who have been given the opportunity to serve those countries long recognize that leadership is about service. And I can't agree more with the Honorable Minister who spoke before me and the good Dr. Aaron who spoke before me that the true essence of leadership is self-discovery and self-esteem. You know, where I come from in my tribe, and I know in many African communities, when you do something very well, they say, you have done it like a white man. When you arrive on time, they say, he has arrived like a white man. When you speak well, they say, you spoke like a white man. When you dress well, you dress like a white man. When you go to a beautiful place in Africa, you say, it does not look like Africa, as if Africans are incapable of doing the right things. And I'm telling us that until the day that we exercise the ghost of low self-esteem, Africa is going nowhere. I'm submitting to us that history has demonstrated times without number that personal conquest is the beginning of true leadership. If you don't conquer yourself, you are going nowhere. And I'm submitting to us that Africa must now recognize that whatever institutions you have, until and unless it is populated by men and women who have ideals, those institutions will collapse, never to be put together again. So going forward, ladies and gentlemen, I hold the view that a conference such as this, that brings together men and women who recognize that Africa should occupy her pride of place amongst the Committee of Nations, must be a conference at which we speak to each other honestly. I think we Africans have been too kind to each other for too long. The time has come that we must annoy each other. It is only when we have annoyed you sufficiently that we can canalize that anger, and that anger can then be used to move mountains. And my joy is that Africa is not sleeping. My joy is that Africans are now beginning to wake up to the reality that we have not only the intellectual wherewithal, but that we have the resources to make our countries grow and grow in the proper direction. You know, not so long ago, and not so long ago in this case means about 50 years ago, I read and listened to the leaders of the early days. If you listen to any one of those leaders, the clarity with which they were able to identify the problems of Africa and the clarity with which they were able to prescribe the medicine that could solve the problems of Africa was as titillating as it was as astounding. You know, I listen to the more casual works and I read the casual works of a young leader in the 1980s, such as Thomas Sankara. You know, Thomas Sankara is a young individual whose claim to formal education was not very much. He did not hold any PhD. He was an army officer. He overthrows the government of Upper Volta, and he goes into government and poses the question, why are we called Upper Volta? And he says the first thing that we must do is to change the name of this country so that it becomes Burkina Faso, the land of the upright man, and that the people of this country must be called the Burkinabe, the upright people. And he says we have been suffering with hunger and food shortages for too long. We have depended on France for too long. We can no longer be children and toddlers in our adulthood. We cannot be in economic and political diapers for too long. And he begins to release the country. And no sooner has he succeeded in doing this than the erstwhile colonial power says that this is a bad example. And they eliminate him. And not only Thomas Sankara, I remember the man for whom I am named in 1961, Patrice Emery Lumumba, only aged 36, and he recognizes, and on that day of independence, not being scheduled to speak, he speaks nevertheless, and he says how happy he is that the history of the Congolese will be written by the Congolese, and they take him away. I listened to Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah saying that Africa cannot be free unless the whole of it is free. I look at the casual works of Bantu Stephen Biko. I listen to the casual works of Samora Moises Machel. I read the casual works of Modibo Keita in Mali. I look at the works of Agostino Neto, the works of Africans who are clear. And those of you who are alive, then you could see that the indices of development in Africa were moving up north. If it was not infant mortality that was beginning to be lowered, it was maternal mortality.
Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, adding on what PLO Lumumba has just said, we thank you very much, PLO Lumumba, for the opener. You are part and a parcel of the Pan-African brotherhood of our unity for Africa, for purpose, unity of purpose, to liberate Africa completely from all colonialism hangovers that we have that are in Africa. Today's topics are very great topics. First of all, I would like to thank all of you who have been watching us throughout at times in my makeshift studio. I've been briefing you on breaking news from Sudan, from Khartoum. We want to thank our correspondent, Dr. Ali Mukhtar, who has been holed up in Carthage Hotel for some time. And we realized later on that he is actually getting us the right inside. Today, as we speak, we have the full cabinet, the cabinet of the people of the military council, the new military council in Sudan. We have it. I just want to announce that I told you the other time that when Janjaweed moves in, arrives in the city, the demonstrators will accept, and they have accepted. But let me now move on by introducing my co-host, the humble, soft-spoken lady from Germany by name Miriam Ogutu. Thank you, Miriam.
From Nairobi, Kenya, but you know.
But lives in German and Game. Thank you very much. She flies between the two continents. But wherever you are, I want you to watch and listen to our speech. We shall cross over to our correspondent in Khartoum, the capital city of Sudan, the great Sudan, the greater Sudan, the Black Africa's cradle of civilization. We shall cross over there and find the facts on the ground. The generals have taken over. They are finished. It is finito. But first of all, let's deal with matters local, which are called local matters. Back at home, the Sunday Nation said inside Al-Shabaab kidnap gangs. As you are aware, 2 doctors from Cuba who came here to help Kenyans have been abducted, taken by Al-Shabaab gangs. But these Al-Shabaab gangs don't operate without sleeper cells. There are sleeper cells inside Kenya. Those who know where these men were staying, those who know the route the men were using, those who know the house, the cars, the movement, the food, the restaurants, the treatment, the wards. We should all be ashamed as Kenyans and Africans. People have come to help us. Someone abducts them, uses some local agents to monitor their movements and then take them down. This is something regrettable that Africa should not accept, to such silly operations. The cartels that are also trading in lives of people, we still have a few of them who want to make this country ungovernable. Ungovernable. And mark you, whenever there is a height in politics, someone tells someone to trigger. You remember when we had these killings around 2014, 2015, there were people triggering this. When politics was at the height, Kenyans have already gone back to the drums of war. The drums of war that you see in the Rift Valley, people marshalling meetings. The drums of war in Mombasa. People talking the way they talk, carelessly. Those drums of war do not help Kenya. They kill Kenya. And we want to ask some of us who have been there in conflicts before, my brothers, don't go that route. Don't you learn from the lessons? Don't you learn from the lessons of the past? Why do we want to go back there, Miriam?
Yes, indeed, it's very worrying. You watch our news nowadays, you'll think you're back. You'll think elections is going to happen in Kenya next month, and yet you're just coming from a very contested and a very porous election that happened in 2017. You think Kenyans really need a break from this political bickering all the time, and what you see right now, even too much politics. Now we're seeing groups like Al-Shabaab taking advantage of these side shows and this political hula baloo, and look at what now is happening, the headlines this morning, and hopefully we're praying that the Cuban doctors are safe. They abducted 2 doctors, and the police and the officials and the security officials over there are really working hard to make sure they can get them. So I'm hoping they're still alive, nothing has happened to them, but also this only should help us understand what really should be our priorities, and politics really should not be something that we should be really immersed in right now as it is as a country.
Thank you very much, Miriam. That's the headline. The Ruto allies cry foul over bodyguards. Yes, too many bodyguards. Why do you use police? You are insulting the same police, and at the same time you are using them as bodyguards. Find your own alternatives. That's a very good thing. Who is killing you? Who is going to kill you? Why should Kenyan politicians arm themselves to the teeth as if they are thieves? I've been talking about this all the time. Half of the police force in Kenya is guarding VIPs. They come in a hotel, you can't have your food with your family. You look at their guns, their bodyguards everywhere, as if this is a war-torn area of Somalia. We cannot have this. A civil society, a democracy which is vibrant like Kenya, why should it have too many bodyguards guarding few men and a few men threatening us? Because if you tell him that you are doing wrong, he will send his bodyguards to beat you up.
To harass you, yes.
If there is a way that the government find out how best they can actually give, what is it that these MPs are fearing to the extent that they have bodyguards? 10, 5, 6, 20.
They normally have bodyguards on them 24 hours.
Yes.
That shouldn't be the case.
I'm telling you.
Protecting them from their constituents, or from who?
I mean, if you have stolen, then you have to be protected.
But you have a reason to want to.
You have a reason. I can agree that the police inspector general should be protected. I agree that the inspector general, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the deputy president can be protected. The former presidents can be protected.
And the president himself.
And the president himself. The heads of GSU, police, prisons, fine. They have enemies. But MPs who represent their own people, what enemies do they have? Tell me, senators, what enmity do you have? Why do you create a state of police running around the roads of Africa, of Kenya, with these V8 guzzlers, with police? Whom are you protecting yourself from? Are you a thief? Are we thieves? Is Africa full of thieves? There's no insurgency in Kenya. The only MPs who can protect themselves, yes, I can agree, Mandela, those areas where there is nearing Somalia. But if you walk freely like some of us do, we do.
And they hardly, even those ones in Mandera, all those forest places, they hardly stay in their constituencies. They're always in the city. Remember, they were asking for homes, or five-star hotels, or wherever they're in the city, and they're always in Nairobi. So they're never even there. They just make a show. They show up and then they come back to the city. Abdi Samad, you're saying the rumors say the opposition is working with Al-Shabaab and simplifying their operations. The positions are protected by clan members. I'm not sure which opposition he's talking about. And yeah, so and
he has brought a bombshell. He says the former president of Somalia is working with Al-Shabaab and are responsible for all bombing in the Horn of Africa. I have said so. I'm telling you. There's some people have not listened to me. There are people...
We're busy fighting, trying to get rid of us.
No, there is something. This man of Islamic courts has never forgiven the way he was removed. I have a problem there also. And the people have not followed this lead. We have been warning, I have been on this station telling people to follow this lead. Who is the head of Al-Shabaab in East Africa? Who is the head of Al-Shabaab? It must be an insider.
Wow. There's a bombshell there from Abdi Samad. Thank you so much.
He has said it from Mogadishu.
Yes, thank you.
Himself.
Yes.
He has said it from Mogadishu or Norway, wherever he is.
So
he must be someone who has been following the workings of Al-Shabaab.
The former president.
The former president. There are several former presidents. If you could be happy to name to us.
Yes, and he said the opposition of Somalia.
Yes.
Is working together with Al-Shabaab and the former president.
Yes.
Yes.
To oppose whatever Kenya is doing. And I think there is that element, I can agree with this guy. The kidnappings go along with piracy. Piracy. You remember, no wait, you remember those people who did piracy were getting money. Money is now not in the market. Don't be so shocked that these people who have abducted these Cuban doctors are going to send messages to some people in Kenya.
They want money, obviously.
To take money, and then people buy more houses.
Because why
and that clique of pirates, where did it go? In Kenya, we had a clique of pirates getting money from piracy. And they've built an empire here. They are here.
Yeah, he's saying the former president Hassan Sheikh.
I told you. They are here, Baba. Mr. President, they are here. I'm not going to speak like Marema, but I'm speaking using what he said. They are here.
All right, another bombshell. Okay. Ishema Raisu, or is it Raiku? I'm not sure. Thank you so much for writing to us this afternoon. You're saying the head of Al-Shabaab is Kagame Paul in East Africa. How?
No. Let's get some of these things.
That's right.
Very right.
Yeah.
They are here. We know them. Abdesalam is from Oslo.
Yeah,
and he's saying it is serious. And but if you put words two together, this Abdesalam has been very consistent
and very, very helpful.
And he knows exactly some of the things that he said are some of the things some of us had raised very serious concern. From 2013, from 2010, I raised the concerns. Who are the people who received piracy money?
Yes.
And how did the ships get paid? Who got the money? Who transferred the money? And that game is coming back again. So the security agencies in Kenya should now narrow down to some of these individuals who are closely connected to Al-Shabaab, and they are using, kidnaps as a solution to get more money, because they have lost money now.
So Al-Shabaab is basically an enterprise, and Abdisamad is saying it's well known all over Somalia that Hassan works with Al-Shabaab. But what are they doing about it? What are other, especially the AMISOM countries that are involved in trying to get rid of Al-Shabaab? And the Somali government right now, as it is, I'm sure they have this information. What are they doing about it?
They are trying, the Somali government and the Somali government and the Kenyan government, they are trying so hard through several means, through the clans leaders, to find out where these doctors are. But truly speaking, someone knows what is going on within these circles. When the government should recall most of these doctors.
They've been recalled back.
Yes, all of them from those areas to come back.
All right, so they're protected by clan members.
Yes, and this Abdesalam from Oslo, those security agencies listening, they are saying that they are protected by clan leaders. So the clan leaders on both sides.
That's why M7 normally holds clan leaders responsible when...
So why don't we use the Uganda system? When you enter Uganda, you must tell us which clan leader you are going to. Remember, Uganda is the only country in the world that allows Somalis to enter free without visa requirement prior to entry. But you tell us which clan leader you are going to. And you all go to Kisenyi, one area designated. No Somali will be allowed to sleep in a hotel in Kampala. You sleep to where you came.
The refugees or just...
No, anybody visitors. There are many Somalis doing business in Kampala. Very rich. But the law there is very clear. As you enter Entebbe Airport, tell us exactly whom you are going to see. Let him also come and sign the document. So you are given that person. Should you get lost, it is that clan leader responsible to find out where you are, what you did, how did you get lost. Time has come for Kenya to this. You know, when Kenya wants to go that route, some people come up and say, oh, we are leaders from the northeastern. But you remember?
That might be a challenge for Kenya because one...
No!
In Uganda, you really don't have like the Uganda Somali. As you have the Kenya Somali.
Here it is easy.
Who are Kenyan citizens.
Do you know it is easy? If you mobilize the leaders of Kenyan side, they will tell you exactly who is coming to see me.
Okay.
You have to tell the chief, the county commissioner, anakuja kufanya nini? Why is he coming to see you? You record. Not that you stop Somalis from coming to Kenya. No, they can come. But let them report to somebody. That's what Uganda has done.
But you know, the problem also is the corruption in Kenya today. They'll pay their way. Because a lot of these bad elements, forget the good Somalis who are, a lot of them are refugees.
My sister.
Somalis, they pay their way through this corrupt police officers.
We have
through the system.
You are right.
Yes,
we have so many roadblocks. When people want this number, people are the first people to oppose this number. If you could see the way they were, was Adani Dwale. Was Abraham Dwale and other people. They were saying, no, they don't want a census, they don't want what, they don't want numbers. Yes, sir. Do you want to contribute to our debate? We are on live show. Do you want to make a contribution? So, thank you very much. viewers, we are going to open up the lines for contribution to the show. But we are dealing with this issue.
All right.
In Uganda, an American was kidnapped.
Last weekend.
Yes, but yes. Ransom was paid. Who paid the ransom? The Ugandan security combed, got this American and the driver back.
Yes.
You see, these are some of the most serious things that we are looking. There is nothing, nobody who is from Somalia who was involved there. But this must be rebels around there who are coming from DRC Congo, ADF, who are also linked to a radical group of another cell of Al-Qaeda, which is within the Congo basin of ADF. You see, that is the truth. Imagine if you have been used to stealing and suddenly the government upprises. Of course, they want to...
They don't want that to happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly, this man has reasoned. He said if you have been used to stealing, and then the government comes to stamp out the stealing, you have to find something else to do. And that is why the heat on Al-Shabaab in Somalia is tough. Yeah, they are being hit from the sky, from all angles, from AMISOM. Yes, they have remained blowing people in Mogadishu, narrowing down. They have been narrowed down. So they have resorted to another way to support, to get money. You know, the way they went to piracy. They were leaders in somewhere in the metros of Europe. There must be leaders who have been getting this money. Wallahi. Wallahi.
But also Al-Shabaab, I think it's just a matter of time. I'm sure they
will be wiped out.
Right now you can see Al-Qaeda in parts of, is it Iraq?
Yeah, it's Syria. Yeah, it's finished.
The last part that they had a stronghold.
Yes.
They in fact surrendered to the...
Now they want, that's why, I don't know why America cannot help us. America should have come to wipe out, to use the drones. Because these people are under there. They know them. So that they are on the run. So that's why you see, to raise the flag so high, you have to pick the Cubans. And that is their bargaining chip. They want money.
Now they want money.
I'm sure somewhere on these telephones in Kenya, someone is negotiating for money.
Of course, they'll get the ransom, and also they'll use that as a tool for their propaganda, you know. Because lately they've not been doing so much to attract the international attention that they normally feed on. So I think this is one of those that will give them that now.
So coming back to Kenya, a Palm Sunday, that was how far have we gone with corruption, the fight against corruption in Kenya? Today is a Palm Sunday. I remember the Palm Sunday 2,000 years ago. Before, when we read the Bible, before Pontius Pilate, the crowd came, surged forward. And then Pontius Pilate raised his hands and said, between the thieves and this man, the preacher, the new preacher, whom do you want? The crowd came back and said, Barabbas, Barabbas, Barabbas. We want the thief, the thief, the thief, the thief to be released. Is there anything in your African country which resembles that? Are people calling for thieves in Africa to be elected? Are we electing thieves? Do we adore thieves in Africa?
What do you think?
Do we have regime change? This topic is linked to bad governance, which is coming in part 2. But now this is a curtain raiser. How far have we gone in fighting corruption in Kenya? How far do we touch our own thieves? Are we touching the thieves?
No, if the thief is ours, then the thief is ours. Leave our thief alone. That is normally
Exactly.
That is normally what you hear.
So what is happening? What is hampering
Yes.
the fight against corruption in Kenya? Over the weekend, remember today, Palm Sunday, Jesus was about to go on the horse, the donkey. Tomorrow or tonight, according to Palestinian time, Jesus will ask for a donkey, go ye ahead and tell that man that I need that donkey. That has never done any job. Jesus is about to annoy the Pharisees. Jesus is about to enter the Jerusalem temple. For those who are Christians, the Palm Sunday marks the end and the beginning of a new life of Jesus Christ. Have turned into a preacher, amen, hallelujah. It's between the new life, the old life and new life. Jesus walked on the palms that were put on the road for the donkey to walk on. Jesus was no longer the same person. Jesus was not the same man, because this time he did not enter the kingdom, the end temple of his father on foot. He entered the temple of his father on a donkey with 4 legs and 2 legs and on carpet, which is the red carpet. The palm trees. Mm-hmm. We can interpret them today as a red carpet.
Red carpet somewhere in Hollywood.
Go ye, bring me a donkey that has never done any work. And if they ask you, who sent you? Say ye, the master. Am I right? Are we there? So here, Bishop David Matsanga turned into a serious preacher today. But what does this Palm Sunday teach us? 2,000 years ago, the people of Palestine, by then, or the Jewish state, or whatever you can call it, as it was constituted from Mediterranean Sea to Babylon. Remember, they had their own customs. But even then, they never liked anybody who is innocent. They only liked their own thief. What do we have in Africa today? My sister?
We have our thieves.
What do we have in Africa today?
And we do whatever we can to protect them by law, by whatever means possible, because we see what's happening. Otherwise, yeah, we protect our own thieves, unfortunately.
We have. You can see the Kenyan scenario. This topic handles Kenya, which you have seen on top. We have said it is Palm Sunday, reflections on the war against corruption in Kenya, and the model of handshake in Kenya. Raising the flag higher. Let's come to the handshake, because we want to move very fast, Miriam. We have about 13 minutes to the top of the hour to come to the most exciting topic.
Yes.
That is trending and walking around Africa.
Yes.
Yes. What is it that people are not happy with? I have now discovered, and I want to authoritatively from my brain tell the people of Africa that there is a problem. People seem to be hating Raila Amolo Odinga for nothing.
I was reading in one of the papers today, and part of Deputy President Brigade was saying, you know, Raila Odinga actually is undermining the Agenda 4 of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and I did not understand where that was coming from.
You know, my sister, you see the whole chorus on the Rift Valley this weekend. The chorus was almost, they don't like to hear what the president is saying. Nobody now hears what the president of the Republic of Kenya is saying. they have created apathy against the president. When you go to write something in favor of the president, it is good that the president brought down his Twitter handle.
It's not been back yet?
No.
But why?
It is good because the type of insult, you're asking why. The type of insult Matanga is getting, but because I come up in the, no wait, in the middle of the night, you find someone has written a very big lie about President Uhuru Kenyatta.
In the middle of the night?
Yes. And I come back, I answer.
You attack.
I have no regrets. And by the way, those who think you are going to threaten me and I stop supporting Uhuru Ngai Kenyatta, you are wrong. No, I will not.
Yes, but hold on. Because Twitter is where especially the president and the youth, the younger generation, normally they get to get information from him. People who really don't pay much attention to the news, but they follow president for whatever he's doing and whatever the government.
And these are the younger generation
Twitter handles, so
who have already been paid.
How long has the Twitter handle been off now?
It's almost coming to a month.
I think you should have it back.
No, how do you bring it back? I think as a president, he cannot afford this type of stupidity. Even if you are saying you are going to control his Twitter handle,
yes,
they are mafias who make sure that they bypass the wall and deliver some body toxins. So many times they have tried to break into my wall, and Jesus Christ keeps me. Hallelujah.
Yes. Nabuife Chidebere Vincent, thank you so much. You're saying, good morning, Pastor Dr. David.
Don't worry. I will preach until Africa turns to be a good continent. So when you go on this Twitter and you are talking about President, you want to say a good word for President Uhuru Kenyatta.
It's a problem.
My. They all come back for you. They said, you Ugandan, you man, you fat guy, you big this, you did that. So people have been paid specifically to insult.
Oh, wow.
Thank you very much, LOC to Rugunde. He says, tooting me says you. That is in London, Robert to Rugunde. Thank you very much. Brother, I will be coming. But I'm doing a very good job, I hope so, in Africa. You see, this touches with the second topic we are going to have, Miriam.
Yes.
When you look across Africa, yes.
And just something here John Clark has written and saying the handshake was welcomed by all walk of people worldwide. To seeing Kenya, they know of unity. You know, when Kenya was going through the tumultuous times we've been going through, especially from 2007, the rest of the world almost came to a standstill because of Kenya is very vital when it comes to its positioning in Africa, East Africa. It's a gateway to so many things in Africa, and the position it plays, especially in bringing peace to some of these very unstable countries, Somalia, South Sudan, and things like that. So when Kenya went through that season of madness, as I would like to call it, it really raised a lot of concern, and it was a big deal for the rest of the world. So when, after the highly contested 2017 elections, and the president and opposition leader Raila Odinga saw it best to come together for the sake of this country, the rest of the world was behind them. So for anybody to think to look at this for what it's not, for me it's a problem.
Apparently the people who were speaking in the Rift Valley over the weekend, they seem to have a very big bone of contention with Raila Amolo Odinga. Very big one. And they have not come out. Why don't they come out? Some of us were not also on the side of Dr. Raila Amolo Odinga. But once the president of the party, the country, the leader of the party that you chose says, let's work out and get a unity of purpose, you are not going to lead. You are not going to lead a divided Kenya.
You can't.
Please don't be power hungry and forget to unite Kenya first. Some of the statements that are coming from these leaders, both the one in Mombasa and the one in Rift Valley, The one in Mombasa, this is not the way. I am just standing in the middle. The one in Mombasa was more categorical. And by Atwoli. It's not a joke. And then the one in the Rift Valley attacks now Dr. Raila Amolo Odinga. Yet Amolo Odinga sacrificed and said, let them sit above the petty differences. Remember, whatever you want to do, whether you are in the Rift Valley, whether you are the MP on the other side, or you are in Mombasa, there are two things you are not going to change in the Kenyan politics. You will not, and I want to tell these guys, especially some of these younger men, I want to tell them, there is something you will not change in this. If you don't learn lessons from what some of us went through in 2007, 2008 to help you. Some of us lost everything to help you. But it seems you don't learn. Let me be very blunt today. Someone does not learn in this country. He's chest bumping. This type of chest pumping is what caused Kenya a problem where we are. It took some of us our own resources to defend some people. And today they are again starting it. You see, Kenyans, there are two things you will not do. Whether you hate Raila or you hate Kenyatta, you will not change the history. That their fathers were the founding fathers of this nation, Kenya. Your father was not. My father was not. Just take it there. I've spoken as an elder. So do what you want. Do. Don't threaten people. These threats are the ones, things started like that in 2008. I was here. I was not in London being told on the phone. I was here with Sky News. These statements were started like that. People started going in the Rift Valley to make, arrangements, which later on the Sudan was looking for. 90 meetings. Have you seen? Have you seen now? Don't you learn a lesson, you people? Don't you learn a lesson? You see the type of meetings that are taking place now again? And then tomorrow you said there was no preparation. Eh? Some of us lied for you. We are loved for you. We are vilified because of you. Professor Mopen had a network to finish some people. Can you look? I went to the extent of going to South Africa with my own money to look for what Professor Mopen did to bring to the court. Did you apply it yourself? Did you apply it yourself, you who is bumping the chest now? And then you are going to call people into these meetings again. Have you seen where we are going? Jubilee is breaking itself. These young men again are coming on the platform. Why Tito does not learn? Why Tito does not learn? Are people not learning? Equally, all the people like Atwoli, what are you saying to the world? What is it that you are saying now, Atwoli, that brings sense to David Matsanga of 64 years old? Tell me what you are talking about. Threats. These threats can bring a problem. You are bringing the country to the brink of cliffhanger politics. Kenyans don't want this. Please, you people, my brothers, for us who have come out from these conflict zones, why we are called names is because we lack countries. Please, please, I beg you,
I beg you, two sides, find a common denominator. There is no way you are going to change history and say Jaramogi Odinga was not a Kenyan. Is there? Is there a way you will change history and say Jomo Kenyatta was not a Kenyan? Is there? Will you change history? That they were not Kenyans? That they were not fighting for freedom which we have today? I'm saying it, tell me. Those who are being paid 300,000 shillings and 1 million shillings to run around this country to go and make rallies, will you change it? You'll say you don't like to hear Raila Odinga. You don't like to hear Uhuru Kenyatta. They should perish. Yet their fathers were very instrumental in uniting this country, fighting for freedom. It is not them who chose to be born where they were born. Jamen, because I saw the people in the Rift Valley, those who were talking much in the Rift Valley were attacking Raila Amolo Odinga. But Odinga brought a handshake. He took out his hand and said, oi, shake me. Election or no election, no problem. We know what Maraga did. We know what he did to go to Hungary and the Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic. We know. It's a big story that I don't want to bring here. We know what has happened. Maraga's time is coming very soon. Those facts will come. Me, I don't talk about something and it doesn't come. But Raila put up his hand and said, let's stop. With Uhuru, they sat somewhere. None of us were present. I was not present. I don't know. But I was a critic of Raila. Yes, from 1982, someone says he only started to work with Raila. I worked with Raila from 1982. We have been rebels. I've been a rebel in this area, in this region. You started working with Raila a few days ago, and then you tell us, threaten us, I have been working with him. Where? But still we took a step back. When the president said, enough is enough, we are working together as a handshake. Jamen, Kenyans, listen to me today. You have never seen a conflict. You haven't. You go to northern Uganda, then you can know how bad a conflict is. Because of skilled politics that was in Uganda. Over 1 million people were killed. A tribe that used to be the biggest tribes became the smallest tribes. People died.
South Sudan right now, that is what is happening.
Look out to South Sudan and see the conflict.
Chest thumping.
Because Riek Machar chest bumps. I know him. The other one, Silver Key, said, hey, I'm a Dinka. So, what will you do? Another one said, I'm Nur. What will you do? Now you have been kissed. Now the Pope has kissed your feet. Try. Try now. Come and check the bump again. Pick a gun. Pick a gun and you'll see. Come back here and pick guns and we'll see. Come back to South Sudan and kill people again. The room where you were, some of us were there before you. Fortunately for us, our feet were not kissed. Our arms, these ones, were blessed by John Paul, the late. Hey, wake up, man. Can't threaten people. Come back and threaten people. Touch a gun again and shoot another one. If you will not see your days numbered going to see the Maker. That's a very big sign. If you study Vatican, the mafia operations and the Vatican, that's a bad sign. React. You are watching. I told you to watch. I was going to talk about this subject. And from Rome where you are, please, I've told Dr. Fabio Ricardo to talk to you. Don't come back here with that gun. Leave it in the Vatican. Come fresh.
He's still in Rome.
Of course. Where can he go now?
Not Khartoum. In the meantime.
Don't. People have had enough. The blessing by the Holy See is not a joke. And those who are playing around like Deng, that Vice President Deng, who switches sides, now switch sides. That Mama Garang. These are accelerating war. If they come back and now start again now, I bet you'll see. You'll see. I'm not the bishop. There's a bishop in Kampala who predicted the collapse of this year. Bishop Kabwai. He said this year, 2019, the signs are on Bashir. We are going to play that clip now, man. You know, when people talk, they talk through the vision of God. We might have no money, no muscle, but we warn you, Kenyans, stand up, refuse this type of mentality of people shooting towards leadership. Part of my disagreement with Kizza Besigye is the way he talks about taking power to go and skip everybody and kill them. How are you going to kill these people? They are part of the system in Uganda. You can't kill them. They have been in NRM. Did they force themselves? No. The children who were born when I was not there are now 33 years old. Can I kill them? We finish them? How will you finish them? My disagreement with your position in Uganda, I don't subscribe to Museveni's politics of NRM, but I disagree with any politics that wants to bring bloodshed and violence. So basically, get me correct. Get me correct, and you will never defeat me. You can never, because you are first of all, the other side. You also helped to maim us. We have not forgotten. We are forgiven. We haven't started that politics. We haven't. Get a warning shot. I'm telling you, we must preach the truth here. So that the people, I don't want to be on this television and go without and preach violence. No. Let's preach people to unite. Let Kenyans unite behind the handshake. If you have differences, go and pick a phone and call the president. Why should you rally people to go and hammer someone? Then you also arouse the interest of this other person on this side. His people also stand up to hammer Miriam. Atwoli would have not said the words. Had these people not said those words in the Rift Valley? You see where problem is?
I think that our leaders, it's time they started being really mindful in what they're throwing out there, because the Kenyans are watching, and a lot of their followers really cannot tell the truth from what is false. So I think it's time they realize that as leaders, they're expected to show some level of decorum and show a sense of leadership and mind what is it that they're saying when they're out there, especially in this public forum. So sometimes they come out as being very reckless. And even not just the parts of the Deputy President's brigade, even sometimes we see from NASA members of parliament, when they want to respond to some of these things, and it's out there in the public, it's not very good, as Kenyans are watching, and others are still trying to heal from a lot of things that happened after post-election violence. Even just 2 years ago, 2017, other Kenyans lost their lives. And so people are still trying to heal from these things. So when they're out there as leaders, it will be very important for them to really try to mind what is it that they're putting out there, especially in these public forums, I think.
Thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity now to cool down, and why I am saying so, it annoys me so much that I traveled all these miles to go into The Hague every day, spent my little money that I had to go and stand for Kenya against the ICC cases. And then you see today, people beginning the same thing. This type of words started like that in Kenya. In 2007, we came here with Sky News crew. There were so many babs of this nature. You saw what the MPs in the Rift Valley said about Raila? What Waititu said about Raila? Surely, does that bring national cohesion? Does that bring national unity? Does that bring the Agenda 4? Does this bring Agenda 4 on the forefront? What does it bring? This unity of this continent, Africa. This continent, Africa, does not need the type of leadership. If this is the leadership going to take over Kenya, these ones, then there is a problem here.
Of course, there's a shortage of leaders, in Africa. What we have in a lot of these African countries, we really don't have leaders. And even those who are trying to preach change and think that if they give them an opportunity, then they are the better option and they'll bring change to these countries more times than not. They're not really the change even those countries are really looking for. So we have a shortage of leaders in Africa, and that, has proved to be a fact. That is very unfortunate.
I just want to take this opportunity to say that is Africa for you. The corruption in Kenya has brought us where we are.
But it doesn't have to be like that.
No, but it
But it is like that.
We were all right, yes. Miriam. We were all right until the president, have you forgotten the journey where we moved? My Pan-African friend, the president of this republic, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his heart, he knows where he triggered. And then this whole problem arrived.
Yeah, of course.
You remember in Mombasa?
The lifestyle audit.
Yes. From the day the president said, from now onwards, every Kenyan will do what we call a life audit. Yes. And he said, including you and me and you. You remember?
Yes.
Senator Murukomen went on national TV, said it is a very good thing, but it has no legal bearing, no legal instruments. Have you seen? Immediately they started fighting the lifestyle audit. And then after that, because this time we are not going to mess like Ocampo. Ocampo messed, did not record things. This time we record everything. Immediately after that, listen first. This is the crisis, the journey Kenya has moved. Immediately after that, guess where we went? Mao Forest erupted. This Mao Forest, Murukomen himself carried sijui what flew into Mao Forest, started opposing the commissioner called Mutambai, that commissioner of Narok. A fight ensued, 2 weeks. Now we are wasting time so that the whole thing of lifestyle audit is not carried out. People, leaders started hammering Mao Forest, Mao Forest, Mao Forest. 2 months passed. There was those who were suspended. This is the history of where we have come. And in case people are here, this time, the people must mark the words of these guys. Because these guys said, we did not say this, we did not say that. Today, Kenyans, open up your eyes and ears, get a notebook. for every leader who is saying these things, note it down. Because this time, when time comes again and the people have a problem, don't go very far. Aha, we moved. They had a fight with that commission of Norok, who is a government official. People died. Houses were burned. Some people stood and said, our people are being finished. We spent 2 months on that. That's the history. Aha. The Mao thing cooled down. As if no solution on it, we moved to another saga. I'm now narrating it to you. Kenyans watching there. I'm waiting another 10 minutes in this other subject. They moved to maize. You remember? A scandal arrived. Farmer. Maize.
It's a certain clique of people who are always involved.
Exactly. Until those men, I hope the production team, my production team has got the meeting in Eldoret. When the farmers stood up, I said it is not Wetangula, it is not who, it is this. This our sons.
Our own leaders.
Our own leaders are he said, Mulukomen, stand up and talk. Talk, you say you know how to talk. Where is the money for the maize? I'm narrating the story for you slowly. We spent another 2 months haggling over maize. We forgot the life audit. This is where the problem is.
It's a distraction after
the distraction so that the people clean their books.
And
it is like a whistleblower that the trouble has arrived, but we shall take a diversionary. Actually, in the political science, is called diversionary tactic. Diversionary tactics used by anybody to distract the enemy from the main goal.
And now we are at the dam scandals.
No, go slowly,
so
Mama.
The maize in January. Okay.
Then came Team 11 in Zambia. You remember? Scandal on Team 11 in Zambia. Someone cried. It's like the whole team of Zambia has been wiped out. You remember, Kenyans? This time we are recording these things. ICC might collapse, but there is a tribunal in Africa coming. Muchunge. It collapsed. The whole football club of Zambia has been wiped out. You remember that minister who said it? Tactics. But the main aim, forget about lifestyle audit. That's the only thing that brought us where we are. Tell me what has brought us where we are. When the president announced about the lifestyle audit, had the handshake not taken place? Was everybody not happy with the handshake?
Of course, everybody was not very happy.
No, me, I was happy.
The political...
Me who was...
So I've always wondered about the handshake, Dr. Matanga. If these people were involved, say if the president had involved his deputy and maybe Raila Odinga had involved his other NASA leaders, but then I don't see them having a problem with the handshake. Had they been involved in the handshake process, do you think things would have been different now?
Which ones?
But the handshake might never.
It would not have taken place.
Yes.
If they are expressing these views here, Waitutu is insulting Raila direct. So you think if they were told that they were going to meet Raila,
so that would never happen.
It would have not happened.
Okay, it would have derailed.
I want to thank the president for the wisdom he took not to allow these people never to know what he was going to do.
Because even that time, even NASA core leaders were not very happy with that. But so somehow they've come to accept it and they're okay with it as it is.
Some of the NASA people were not also equally happy.
Yes.
There are people who really wanted never to eat any porridge in Kisumu in the morning in Kondele. Yes, they are there.
The porridge in Kondele is very good.
It's very good porridge in Kondele. I used to be there.
Yes.
I used to drink that porridge in 1980s.
That's long. You need to go there for
In the 80s, yes.
Go there for
That porridge is so
improved.
nice.
It has improved.
And it is in a metallic cup, not plastic. You drink it, so nice.
They serve it in the gourds.
Yes, and I missed. That is the porridge I wanted. I was one of those. The handshake has helped. Because the group of Mzee Raila never wanted to see me eye to eye. In fact, some of these places in Nairobi, I could not walk in until I listen where the sound is coming. Signal, mama. Then when the signal gives me an angle, I said, there I'm not going. I was one of the beneficiaries of the handshake.
But who was supposed to do this lifestyle audit? Did the president mandate somebody?
Everybody.
Who was supposed to do it? Who was
agencies.
Which agencies?
All the EACC.
Yes.
And the other agencies were supposed you present yourself. Up to now, these leaders have not done life audit style.
Yes, and the EACC, as it was constituted at that time, I don't think would have done a good job. But right now, Twalib should think about it.
It is too late.
Is it?
It's too late. They have killed they have polluted the atmosphere. The atmosphere is polluted.
It's been politicized.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, our viewers.
The auditor has done his job. John Clark, the auditor, did his job. He brings every report.
Every scandal.
That there is a problem.
Yes.
There is no organization in Kenya that does not have a problem. It is not only in Kenya.
Yes.
Things are worse even in other countries. The only problem is that some other countries, there are serious measures where they can deal with you.
And the institutions, they actually function.
They can kill you. Some people, you need, the president won't win the war here with only litigation. Sorry. Mr. President, if you are talking of litigation in Kenya, let's come to courts. Let's come to courts. Is there any case you can get to court regarding corruption and you win? If the Deputy Chief Justice herself, who was caught with her hands breaking the law, using the letterhead of the judiciary to seek a loan, is still there in Mombasa talking to the public of Kenya. Can you win a case in court? President was telling us to go to court. Rule of law. Which rule of law is there? In the Maraga's court? Wagwan.
So, speaking about the president and the state of address he gave over a week ago, when he said if any of his CSS or anybody that is working under him is mentioned, if he's taken to court, then he has to step down. So I'm sure they'll make sure they're not taken to court. They'll make sure they, that those cases don't get to court. If that is the only way they'll get to step down, I'm sure they'll make sure, the names don't get to a hearing in one of the courts in Kenya, right?
Can I tell you, there is nobody who will be taken to court who will be able, who will lose a case on corruption. It's only how much you stole that weighs in the court. And then they calculate how much they will divide each other. From the clerk to the cash. Didn't you hear that the files are being transferred by security? You heard?
Files are being transferred.
Yes. You heard someone saying, even the security handle files in Kenya.
Yeah.
Me, I don't believe in a court system in Africa. I don't. Because court system, you better resolve your conflict at home. I rather solve my conflict at home. I don't want a court, because the court will only injure and bring you more problems. You take these guys. So President Uhuru has to find another channel to finish out corruption. You get my point? He needs it.
What would you propose for that channel to be?
Just ask them to go to Pop. Let all of these thieves go to Pop.
And then what?
He kisses their feet.
And then what?
They die.
Are you serious?
Yeah, if they come back to steal, they die.
But on a serious note,
On a serious note right now, if Riek Machar comes back,
let's talk about that.
and orders troops to shoot anybody in Sudan, his helicopter might not go far. I'm telling you the truth. God, this man has talked like a God, man. The Pope has said it. Don't try. He has gone down. I'm telling you,
He beseeched them, literally, begging them.
When we are handling the Aboke, the Uganda peace process, we went to that room. Luckily enough, our feet were not kissed with Dr. Obita, you are there, man. Why don't you stand up and say, tell these people, the same men who arranged for Riek and Salva Kiir to go to Vatican are the same men who arranged for Matsanga, Obita, and Alake in London, and then Amama Babazi in Uganda to go to see Vatican. I'm now telling you, some people think that I'm like them. I'm not.
All right.
Dr. Ricardo, I saw him long time ago. Fabian Ricardo. That's why I am getting everything. Everything I post here is real. I've told him to tell Riek that please, if there was some element of having one gun near the heart, in the stomach or the kidney, leave it there. Because this is the last act of the Vatican. Go and study the book, The Vatican, and study the Sicilian operations, why Vatican became its Rome, on its Rome. Miriam, why is the Vatican a state of its own within a state? They have their own airfield, airport. They have their own taxation system. They don't. They are in Italy, but they are not in Italy. Why? Why?
Is that what the Biafrans and the Amazonians want?
Yeah. Why? So you people who are talking better listen. It's not a joke. Let's move on.
Before we move on, I just want to appreciate our viewers who have been engaging with us and who has been really writing to us. John Wanyoiki, you're saying, if you don't keep the government in check by asking and demanding or pointing out the wrongs, power will get into their heads. We have to ask hard questions for us to move forward. Indeed, John Wanyoiki, thank you so much for that. And I think our viewers up there, and Draxton, like you're saying, you're watching us all the way from New York City. Thank you so much, and it is a good morning there. It's a good evening over here, and it's good afternoon still. It's good afternoon. Ateni Poch, thank you so much for watching us this afternoon. So, do elections, corruption, and bad governance lead to regime change in Africa, Dr. Matanga?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Case study Algeria.
Algeria. Look at Bouteflika. President Bouteflika takes over government, elected. That's elections. What has happened? The end result? Regime change. He found the power so sweet.
Yes.
He could not leave. He decided to.
Even after 20 years of leadership,
yes,
he still thought he wanted
more. He wanted more.
Another term.
And even when he has a stroke,
he can't even work.
He can't write, he can't talk, he can't eat, he can't function in terms of a real man. But Bouteflika cannot function as a real man.
We don't know that for sure.
No, he couldn't. How could he function easily?
We know he couldn't function as a president.
No, please.
Okay.
If you are talking to Africans, tell the truth.
All right.
Let Africans know. Bouteflika ceased to function as a real man in Africa.
Since 2013?
Yes.
All right.
When he got that stroke. A stroke was too heavy. It hurt him so much. And that's it. What caused the regime change and up to now is bad elections.
Yes.
Constant gerrymandering, constant threatening, constant killings of political opponents made him a prisoner, a hostage of his own thoughts. And he was caught up in a palace where he can't run, he can't sit, he can't jump out, only to be jumped out. Go. Country number 2.
Before you get to country number 2, of course, Algerians are still out in the street piling pressure, and they really do not want the new speaker who was put to lead the country until the elections are supposed to happen on July 4th. But they still do not want Abdelkader Ben Salah to be the interim leader right now, because they're saying
it is because
this is Bouteflika.
Can I tell you the truth?
Yes.
African is watching me. I have a correspondent in Khartoum now. And he's not a small boy on the street. He's a senior person in that country. What he has been saying is what I'm telling you is not what Al Jazeera knows. When I come to Khartoum, Sudan, you'll see.
Yes.
But Bouteflika cannot jump, could not jump, because already he's paralyzed. How will you jump?
Not possible.
Now, how can he surrender power? People will come and beat him. Because there he had the power to direct the army. Now the voice went down, 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 until he was taken out. The generals themselves marched across Mugabe the same way.
It's the same fashion.
Mugabe was my best friend.
Algeria, Zimbabwe, Sudan.
Let me tell you, my best friend, even when God calls him, if God has not called me, and he calls Mugabe first, the only man I will fly into Harare to cry tears is Mugabe. No, I did not cry when Mandela died. I'm sorry. I have reasons why. I'm honest. Because there was nothing he brought for the suffering that he had. He only brought one good thing, a rainbow country, left a rainbow country with capital in white supremacists who manipulate and destroy South Africa today. Look at where South Africa is heading. After this election of May, you look at where it is heading. You are here on this, we are here.
Yeah,
the signal will come. But
next year.
Bouteflika loses his everything, finally goes on a wheelchair, and then still he wants an extra time.
On his way to treatment to Switzerland, he announced that I'm coming back.
I'm coming back as a president. Surely, this generation, the generation that Bouteflika took power when they were 20 or 22 years, they were born on that same day, are now 22, eligible to vote. They see the same man. They ask their mothers, who is our president? Same, the same. What about the other? You know, it is this one. This is the scenario I'm telling you people.
Yes.
I'm not going to take sides. Today, I am open. Let's move on.
Let's move to Sudan.
Sudan.
And I know we just talked about it a while ago, but still, Awad Mohammed Ahmed bin Auf, the military chief who led the action that ousted long-serving Omar al-Bashir, also resigned yesterday, and that really made news headlines. And right now, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan Abdel Rahman is the new Sudan's transition leader.
Yes. And there is only one good thing about Sudan that I like. The boys are real boys. The generals never die.
The people are
The
people are not playing.
No way. Have you look at that man? Look at the man. He's there. That is the guy you have to watch. That's my friend, though. General Duklo. Headman Duklo. Don't play. You don't tell me that the people moved out of the square for nothing. When they had Duklo is here.
No, but
wait.
He said the curfew is not there anymore.
Fine.
He got rid of
but they know. That guy with different uniform. This man here. This one. If you play with him, every Sudanese, whether young or old, knows Duklo. David Matanga knew Duklo in 1998. I'm now telling you, people who don't know, Duklo is not a man you are going to play about with. So these demonstrators, even if we leave them without a curfew,
Yes.
wallahi ya Mungu, no Sudanese will come to the street again. Oh, listen.
Joseph Otto is asking general to general handover in Sudan. Does it help?
It does for transition. Duklo has even shortened it 6 months. We go back.
Good.
Anybody who knows General Duklo, like I do,
So they had to listen to the demands of the people.
my dear, they had to listen to him.
They say, no, 2 years apart.
You know the man who has sustained this Bashir in power? Forget all these other fatigue uniforms. The only man who has sustained Bashir in power is General Duklo. I'm now reasoning and telling people who don't know. These other people in Kenya, know it.
Yes.
General Duklo, when they heard he had arrived in town, ma'am, people started dismantling their umbrellas. Yeah?
I think they were happy with him.
No! I'll tell you offline. Because he's my friend. General Duklo is the most respected general
Yes.
in Sudan.
Yes.
It is not that man. That man is now,
Mohammed.
Sandhurst. Well organized in English language and
So
Arabic.
to have left the street, that means they have faith in him.
My dear, my sister Miriam.
Compared to the...
My sister Miriam Ogutu. My sister Miriam Ogutu.
Yes.
Listen to my lips. When they heard that General Doglu is in a town, every demonstrator started to find his home. He's a negotiator. He's very acute. He's accurate. He's a leader. He can organize and disorganize. So the demonstrators said, walai, wacha tutoke Khartoum. Tuanze to pick the rubbish. And he has told them, there's no curfew, enjoy. But don't try again to come towards the army headquarters. Now I'm telling you who Duklo is. You better know. Don't try. Another good thing that has come out of Sudan is I am one of the happiest guys. You know why?
Why?
Sudan generals will not hand over Bashir. No, Fatuma.
Yes, they've said that on Bashir's status, it is now clear that he's under arrest, but the military hierarchy has dismissed categorically any move to extradite him to face international criminal charges at The Hague. They've said, no, we are not doing that. So they're protecting Bashir.
Let me tell you, General Duklo, and whatever you want to say, say it. I have told you I knew General Duklo in 1998. He has been my friend. And I know him, live it Jesus or Christ on Palm Sunday. The demonstrators did not leave just because they left. They heard the general is in town.
Maybe the changes that you announced might have appeased them.
They have now done. They have now bring another fourth. Our correspondent, viewers, let's cross over to our correspondent in the capital city, Khartoum, Dr. Ali Mukhtar, on the line. I think we shall get him so that we can discuss with Dr. Ali Mukhtar exactly the situation on the ground in Khartoum, because time has come for us to be updated.
And what is happening in Khartoum?
In Khartoum. I hope we shall get him.
All right, and as we wait for that, Nyachogo, Kevin, you're saying, no, Tenny Port, you're saying those generals are Bashir's disciples. They can't hand over him to the ICC period. I think.
But that's what we said.
They worked for him, so yes.
Not they worked for him.
In his
Hello, our correspondent from the capital city, Khartoum. Good afternoon, Dr. Ali Mukhtar.
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Masanga. Good afternoon, Punchline Africa.
Good afternoon to you, Doctor.
Miriam says, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Miriam. Good afternoon to you.
Okay.
Give us an update. And from last night, I am told my friend General Duklo is in town.
Yeah, they have formed the new military council. So Duklo is now the deputy president to the military council.
The new military council has called upon political leaders to come and unite with the military to form opinion, to bring in new opinion. You think this is now the end of any other changes?
Yeah, they have called them yesterday. There was a meeting about the coalition of the freedom change. They have demands. They have demands to be met by this government, by the new military council. So the demand they have, they want to cancel all the laws that crucial freedoms, that is against the freedoms of speech and others. And they have demands that the immediate release of the Darfurian students that has been detained, being accused in September 2018, that being accused they are from the movement of Abdel Wahid, and the coalition against the demands that the state media should be changed and to form a new council, because that media was controlled by the national, then the NCP, and then with the Security Council, they are the one, the security, Sudan Security Department, they are the one controlling every media. So this media has to be independent, and then to form the new council. And the coalition demands again that the regional transitional council be both the military and the civilians to have a collective responsibility together, not to be left to the military council alone. The coalition will submit the document with the civilians' transitional government structure and plan. This is what is happening. This is what is coming. And the coalition again demands that the restructuring of the National Intelligence and Security Service, they have to be restructured again. And the number 7, the coalitions declaring that the seat will not be dispatched until all demands are met. So they are not going to leave the military headquarters square until all the demands should be met. So this is what is going to happen. And then the military council, they have been sworn in with the 8 members, as you know, but they worried of it because one of them was the deputy to the chief of intelligence, Salah Ghosh. So that is another fear, because he was in the previous government, he was the one being instructed when he was hitting these people in the ground. So he's called General Jalaluddin Sheikh. So he's one of the members of these 8 military council members.
Okay, from the hotel where you were in the hotel Carthage, the situation, is it returning to normal?
Yes, the situation is returning to normal, but the people are still waiting for a new statement to come out for the demands that they have discussed yesterday. And the other things, because they have not said anything about the former President Bashir and others who have been detained. They have not put them in media to see them as being arrested and taken to the prisons and wherever. But they are still want to know exactly why the new military council are not saying anything about it. So this is another worry, and there's a lot of meetings going on.
You ask, you want to ask?
So, but when they declare Ibn Auf was not there anymore, and Burhani took over, and then Hamati is part of it. But the Darfurian is still accusing the new leader and the deputy. They were part of the genocide and distributing of the weapons during the Darfur war. So this is what is happening in the media all over the world. But the Saudi Arabia and Emirati and Russian, they have blessed this new council, and they're pledged to work with them.
They have recognized, Saudi Arabia has recognized the new council.
They have recognized.
Yes, and Russia.
Has recognized.
Yes, I believe.
And this morning, the head mission of the United States, the one who's in charge of the office, has met the deputy president of the military council this morning around 11.
General Hardman Doglo.
Yeah, Doglo.
Oh, yes, you know why I love the guy, and I love all along from 1998, I loved that guy. And the type of uniforms, the uniform is wearing makes me happy. You know, it makes me to look as if I better go back to the uniforms. But friends, I want, Miriam has a few questions for you, sir.
Yes, you're welcome, Miriam.
Yes, indeed. Doctor, just before you leave, so you have confirmed that the protesters are still out in the streets protesting, right?
They're still.
Oh, they're still out in the street protesting. And how did they receive the news of the new leader now that has been, after the other one stepped down yesterday? How did he receive, how has he been received?
Because the new leader, he was a part of the military command. He was the inspector of the army of Sudan, and he came down himself. He came down to meet them before they took over from the former president of the military, the one who took over from al-Bashir. So he understand them, and he invited them to the office, and this is where they said, we are going to listen to you, we are going to take all the demands you need from us, and that is how this overthrow came and forced Ibnov to step down, and he took over from Ibnov as president of the military council.
All right, just a last question before I let you go. Of course, you've mentioned that one of the statements he made is the disbandment of the whole administration of the state media. And we've seen in a lot of Islamic countries, the countries they have a stronghold when it comes to media and media freedom. It's not very liberal. So can this mean that Sudan is finally getting into the 21st century and maybe becoming more liberal, and the space for democracy might increase from such announcements? Do we expect Sudan to be different from what it was during the rule of former President Bashir?
Yeah, it's going to be different this time because they are following the heart of the people. They are following what the kind of the nation that they are looking for, as they are looking for the new Sudan that has a freedom of speech, that is not using the religious to force people, and that is not using the religious in judiciary, in the security sectors, in the media sector. So it has to be a free democracy nation. So this is what is going to happen, and this is what they want to see. This is what they want to see from now until the time where the election will come in 2 years to come.
All right, Dr. Ali Mukhtar, keep well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Mukhtar from Khartoum. Thank you very much. Another question before you leave. The situation of the peace process in South Sudan, where do we stand now?
It depends on the leadership of this time, and how are they going to collaborate, and how are they going to build a new relationship, because the South Sudan used to be under the mercy and under the supervision of al-Bashir, because al-Bashir used to be influential after he gave out the South Sudan. But when you go back to the media, there's people who are demonstrating, who are even putting a slogan, even the video is there, saying we are not going to leave this uprising, we're not going to leave from the head of the military until South Sudan is back to Sudan as normal. So this is what is happening in the social media, and they are putting the slogan, they're putting the photos for the late Dr. John Garang. So these are the things that they say, because they say the separation came from the regime of Bashir, from the Islamic ideology. So there's a lot of things. So people have to think, South Sudan has to think about, because they are not connected to the regions like before. They used to connect with those people who granted the peace, and one of them now has gone down. So there's going to be challenges in all these things. Even although they have gone to Pope and Pope has kissed their leg, but that isn't going to change anything. It is the heart of people. It's not about the leadership. It's about those who are behind them. It's not about the leadership. It's about those who are behind them. Those who are controlling the resources, those who are benefiting from the resources. And you know, Sudan used to be very effective and influential because of what they have as the resources and the oil money. Okay.
First of all, if you look at the chart on our show, I hope you are watching right from Khartoum in Cafe Hotel. I don't want to leave you to go. Just hold a minute. We see on the top of the radar in Africa, we have President of Equatorial Guinea.
No,
yes.
That is...
yes. We have Equatorial Guinea. We have Cameroon.
Theodore Obiang Nguema is the leading.
Then we have Museveni.
Number 3.
Then we have, there are many men.
Bashir now, he led for 30 years. I think this was a chart from last year.
From last year, but then we can update it by 1 year.
1 year ahead, yeah.
Well, if you look at that chart, are we safe in Africa? Can we therefore conclude that elections, corruption, and bad governance lead to what you are seeing in Khartoum, where you are now? Is it true?
It is now. It is something making alarm to the leaders around now, and they are thinking, if these things happen to Bashir, the most strongest guy in the region, so it can happen to them too, because the young people who are uprising now, they have an open-minded. Even the elders, they have even given up. They say, we are not going to survive anymore. But when these young people came out, and we are in the 21st century, we are in the age of media, the age of the technology, so things can happen. The uprising can come with the youth, with the young people, and then they can be back up with the elders, with the other parties. So this is going to happen in nations and nations, because 2019, even there is other people who are prophesized, churches and all these things. And what you see in Sudan now, it is abnormal. It have never happened before, and people are increasing than before. So that is giving lesson to other nations to watch out. The time and the clock is ringing, and it's running fast.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Ali Mukhtar.
Yes, indeed.
I will come back to you very early in the morning, 6 o'clock, on Radio Punchline Africa, right from Nairobi. We need an update. Say hi when you cross over to the military headquarters.
Is he going there?
Yes.
All right.
When he is a very great friend of, say hi to my good friend, General Hadima Daklo.
Thank you.
I love him. I like his uniform.
You love him or you love his uniform? Which one?
A cattle seller and goat seller. So he's a guy now who is the second man in the country. My
dear, I know this general since 1998. I love his uniform. I love him, the way he operates. And one thing he has made me happy, that's why I'm not making any noise, is he will not allow Bashir to go to the ICC.
Yeah, he said it. He said it in his statement. He said they will judge them, they will take them to court.
In Sudan, yes.
In Sudan. And he is the one who went and arrested Bashir himself.
Yes.
He's the one who overthrew Ibn Auf, because it's not Burhani who overthrew, because he's the one who has the army.
Thank you very much. Keep some of those details nicely.
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow, because we don't want... Here is live. Whatever you are hearing, viewers, it is coming live from Khartoum, Carthage Hotel.
Right.
And the person we have inside. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Mukhtar from Khartoum. Viewers, that's where we are. And, hey... It never rains. It continues to rain.
It pours.
It pours in Africa. Miriam, I told you that this General Haldima,
hold on.
Dagla.
Something that Dr. Ali Mukhtar mentioned that really even I've seen as one of our viewers here respond, saying that people there with placards saying, you know what, now that Bashir is out, so maybe South Sudan should come back and we should be one Sudan.
Exactly.
What?
Do you know what?
What?
Yes, can I tell you what?
And Mayor Abraham Agoroki saying South
Can I tell you what?
Never ever join Sudan again. That is what he's saying.
That General, if things go like that,
and Kiir will agree to go back to Sudan.
That is the whole military council. Those are the people who never wanted South Sudan to split. I'm telling you. What was the use of splitting South Sudan? What was it? Tell me. You split South Sudan because Bashir was oppressing the blacks. Then immediately the blacks started oppressing their fellow blacks and killing their fellow blacks. You tell me, put your money here, tell me.
Tennis says that's impossible, that will never happen.
It is not impossible, but that's the only possible way, Mr. Tony Pidge Goff.
Coach, yes.
For you to have any sanity in the world anymore. Hear me. Hear me.
But you know the blacks are not treated very well in
that's it, but they were better off.
But she wanted to make
they would not have destroyed their infrastructure. Is there anything in Sudan left? Is there anything in South Sudan? Mama, don't bring my problems and my ulcers.
That kiss on the feet.
My high blood pressure.
Works. The kiss on the feet.
Read, there is a comment there.
And they're supposed to...
Jesus took water and washed their feet.
Yes, I read it earlier.
You remember?
Yes, from one of our viewers here.
No, from me, a gospel reader.
Hold on.
I am also a gospel reader. Why do you go inside there?
No, tell me, Port. Say it here.
Yeah, but why don't you read that? I am now the one telling you.
You actually pasted the gospel here.
Do it. When I wash your feet, I want you to go and wash another person's feet. If you refuse to wash that person's feet,
as in go serve,
and go and serve them, it means you have not listened to me. Whatever curse will come on you,
yes,
is the biggest curse.
Yes.
Riaka Macha, Salva Kiir,
yes,
Mama Garang, and Deng. Please, Taban, Deng. My dear brothers, you took yourselves in the Vatican. Should you come back here and hold guns again? Don't blame us, but blame. Don't blame us. There's a saying there.
But blame man above. Okay. Teacher, thank you so much for watching us today. Nyachogo, thank you. Zaga De Era, you're saying, he's wondering, Mister, have you been among the people enjoying South Sudan tax? They were just friends with the...
I was just a friend, yes.
Yes, former president.
No, helping ICC issues.
Yes, indeed.
Even now, this new government needs me to help them, guide them on ICC. They will not listen to any stupid lawyer anymore because they need a man who is going to do. The ICC matter does not need law.
Yes.
It needs political, legal bypass.
Yes, indeed.
A strategy of a political, legal bypass. When the heart is not functioning, you must find a bypass.
When the heart is not functioning, you're dead.
No.
The heart must function.
When a beat
misses,
there's a disease on it. You must use a legal what we call a bypass in law, in medicine. Mama, in medicine, unapitisha kamba kuko, unaleta pump here, it works.
Artificially.
So we need a legal, political legal bypass on Sudan, on ICC. And one of the things you talk about ICC, if America can call ICC bullshit, why is
you're supposed to say,
Africa?
You're supposed to say BS in a in a short. Stephen Lemmy, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, this evening.
Madam.
Yes.
I have not said anything wrong.
All right.
Americans said Fatou Bensouda and the group. And then ICC made a mistake over the weekend. Just on Friday, they said they have thrown out the American investigation case. Is that so? Can they come back to Africa to look for another person? No. Africans should wake up from the slumber of stupidity. We are all stupid in Africa.
Are we now?
Yes, we are. All of us.
All right. Eto Gatnya Giang is saying, we in South Sudan are politically conscious people and there shall never be a reunification of the two Sudans. Take that to the nearest bank. This is because in Sudan there have been a lot of curtailing and control of even social media and media. So it is perceived that in Sudan really there's not, because of the lack of free speech and free media and things like that. So they're not really woke. But now we see they're woke. And the protesters, of course, now they've brought change to the country. But according to our viewer here, he's saying South Sudan, they're more politically awakened compared to Sudan. Bringing those two together might not work at this point in time.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's move to Paul Robia. Regime change indeed comes as a result of poor politics, poor governance, corruption. At the end, we see the regime change, which is taking place in Sudan. It could arrive at your doorsteps. You
think Cameroon, that might happen?
Yes.
Are they tired enough?
Yes. Yes.
The Francophone?
Yes.
I know the Anglophone, they're done.
I see a hand of George Soros changing his hand. And they use to please Trump to overthrow Cameroon.
He's oiling his hand?
Yes. To oil his hand. Because Trump and George Soros, if you put them in a house, it will blow up. They hate each other. But I see George Soros going to help in the change of government in Cameroon. Let's go.
And Freddie Kamugisha, you're saying Africa should solve their own problems. I don't see why we bring them to ICC. And Kamada Kamal, you're saying another uprising may be loading, but those remaining dictators are very dangerous.
Yes. Another one uploading very soon.
And those remaining dictators are
and
lethal.
You know one thing, Miriam. Do you know they upload near election time? Either after election times or before election. As soon as General Bashir indicated that there will be an election in 2020, and at first he said he will not take part in it. Then two, he said he will take part. You remember? That's it.
And then he wanted to change the constitution. The same thing Al-Sisi is trying to do.
Not try, he changed.
He wanted, yes. The same thing Al-Sisi is trying to do in Egypt.
Yes.
But of course...
Al-Sisi has done it. Al-Sisi has done it.
Did Parliament not stop him? Oh, okay.
So he has a majority in the Parliament. What will you do?
The same as President Museveni, I think, of Uganda. With majority in government, you get...
Anything in Uganda passes.
Yes. Anything passes.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything. There is no... Don't waste your time taking the motion to the floor in the Parliament.
It will be defeated. Okay.
It will be defeated. So the best thing is let's go by the rules.
All right. And Serex, before we go to Arfu, Serex Rain, you're saying it's better to sensitize South Sudanese to over-tribal mindset and rule of the gun than thinking about unifying South Sudan and Sudan. Change is a gradual process, and the young generation may get a unifying mindset in future and move the country north of tribal wars into direction of development. That is a very valid point.
Can I tell you one thing,
yes.
Mama?
Yes.
If Garang had been alive, there would be no two Sudan. There would be one Sudan.
That was his vision.
Yeah. That's it.
Alfu, you're saying, why is George Soros so quiet about the genocide in South Cameroon? I thought he's there to fight for the oppressed.
He only fights when the French have... You know why he's quiet on the Babazonian issue? Yes. Is the French. It's where he banks his money. where he banks his money.
All right, Sarah.
The biggest point of the French, the biggest account of George Soros is in Paris. It's the one that paid for Somali border conflict.
The maritime money.
Yes. Okay. It is the one that pays Kofi Annan and his wife up to today. Yes, they receive money. John Carson's, Geoffrey Smith, they are paid.
Okay, all right. And just looking at another country, and this is Gabon, and we saw the attempted coup that happened sometimes back in January that not very successful. Would that be a warning shot to now President Ali Bongo, or should he just sit pretty and think that people are happy with the Bongo's leadership that is now has amounted to 41
No. Bongo is not sitting.
Should he be worried?
He's worried.
Okay.
All leaders in Africa are worried, even including Museveni is worried. You wanted? I know people asking me to say so.
I've seen Sarah Mkungu saying it will soon happen in Uganda. We are very serious about it. Dr.
I don't know, but I am not.
Sarah, are you from Uganda?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Bobby Wine has gone quiet, I think.
No, but it is going. You know, in Uganda.
Yes.
It's almost there. Yeah. Okay. It's almost there. This election will decide.
The next election.
Yes.
I hope they get there.
If they get that, they will get there. But
get there, yeah.
I've told you, I brought this message to tell you. I brought this message to tell you. Elections, corruption, bad governance leads to regime change.
Yes.
You know why I set this question today?
Yes.
Yeah, give me 5.
I'll give you 10.
10.
Okay.
Thank you, Miriam.
All right. And Najib Ngong is saying the issue in South Sudan is tribalism that is mixed with politics. So the peace in my country is like climbing mountain, but we're hoping for the best. Great to Pan-Africanism for little teaching of fellow Africans. That's very good. And you can see over and over, especially the South Sudanese who are engaging us this afternoon, it's one thing. It's tribalism that is killing. That is not only killing South Sudan, but is also bringing us problems here in Kenya and also across a lot of
yes, it is true. It's ethnicity. One of the problems that Kenya has is also that. So we touch Kenya. Yes. Elections in Kenya also spark conflicts. Yes. You saw the last election was almost leading us there until Raila and Uhuru
got a hold on themselves.
Yes. And that's very good. We give you kudos.
Yes.
Let's go to Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Yes.
It's still having its own problems.
It is elections again. It's elections.
They wanted Mugabe.
They wanted Mnangagwa, the leader of opposition, claims that Mnangagwa did not win an election. So elections in Africa spark off a regime change. And you can see many of these countries angling themselves for regime change, positioning the opposition leaders to overthrow other governments.
And Chamisa has been very quiet lately. Is it the cyclone, or maybe somewhere regrouping and maybe he's talking to other people?
I think it is a silent rebellion in brewing because the leadership of Zimbabwe is trying to do the best it can.
To its people, yes.
But the people are not happy with it. People just want... they did not have the chance like the Sudanese to come out in the streets.
So they're wanting for that?
They didn't.
Because the army just came out.
Yes, it took them by shock.
Yes.
You know why? Because everybody thought it was impossible to overthrow, to remove Mugabe.
And you know, at that time you could not...
So they were not prepared.
Yes.
But had they been prepared, we would have been in a very bad situation. That they would have not left the streets until some other conditions were met.
I see some problem here brewing for a different country here, so let's just leave that to that. A lot of our viewers here are really expressing their discontent in the manner in which there's bad governance in their country. So let's just...
Ahimbisibwe, is it the problem you are saying? Ahimbisibwe, you are saying, I can hear you, yes. But my brother, there's nothing I can do. I tried my best. You know that very well, Ahimbisibwe. I did my level best. I brought peace. Even though when I was gongered, right there. I am happy the peace is holding.
The peace is holding.
So Zimbabwe, that's the life that we have to lead in Africa anyway.
Okay. And of course, one of our viewers, they're saying in a lot of these countries, you know, the winner is known before even the results are out. So
exactly, the elections are fixed.
The rigging, yes.
They are fixed. It's like a match. They are fixed matches, yes. Cricket.
True.
Yeah.
Even in football.
Raja Justin said, thank you for bringing this topic. Our leaders in Africa should listen to their people.
Totally.
I have brought it. Yes, that's why you should always watch. I am seeing as well that African countries are going to split in smaller states. Do you see that as well, Doctor? I think so. You know, I've been confronted with this question every day when I talk about Africa and the Pan-Africanism. People ask me, why are you making sure that you fight for Amazonia? The particular answer is Amazonia is different.
It is a different.
We had already gone to the Security Council to separate the two. The United Nations General Assembly separated the two, but somebody changed the cards and read a different version. So that is why I'm fighting. But in all, I want African unity. I want a unity of purpose. I want people to unite, and that is all I am. But as you say, Manansi, it could be true.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So that is all we had time for today, or do we?
Thank you.
Yes.
I was struggling to finish. We have finished on time.
10 minutes past 4 p.m. East Africa time here in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Thank you so much for joining us and for having kept us company and for engaging us. So hopefully you can meet here tomorrow, 11 a.m.
With the People's Courts.
With Good Morning Africa and then People's Courts.
Yes. Whichever. We might.
But we will be here at 11 a.m.
Yes, 11 sharp, Miriam, the voice, the good voice of voices, voiceless. The good laughter, that laughter always ignites my heart.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's the truth.
Right.
Yes, one has to appreciate Miriam.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Easter.
Merry Christmas to you.
Easter.
Okay, good.
What are you doing for Easter, Miriam? Any preparations?
I'm not sure. I'll start.
So many. You see, Easter creates a lot of anxiety. And before I leave this stage, I think I want to tell you, please.
We still have tomorrow.
No, today. Today is Palm Sunday.
And Wednesday and Thursday to talk about.
We have to change.
Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
Okay.
I have written an article on talking from the fence. I want you to go to my page on Facebook, on my Facebook, talking from the fence, the new and the old and the new beginning of Jesus Christ. Let us begin now a new life, that the Son of God today has walked on the Palm Sunday, on the leaves, towards going to conquer thieves that were in the Father's temple. How many thieves do we have in Kenya who are stealing money every day? Very many. How many thieves do you have in your country, in Africa? Very many. Smoke them.
Yeah, it's about time. All right, so we see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
On that very wonderful Palm Sunday note, we'll see you tomorrow.
You see, she ignites my heart again.
Oh my God.
Palm Sunday. Viewers, this station therefore is for Africa by Africa with Africa. Charles.